Excelsior, everyone! For I am the Doctor the Maverick, and welcome to another What If. Just kind of hold off. I want to wait for some more shit to do with some of my other shit. This one I actually think might be pretty freaking sweet. Something called What If Kurama Was Izuku's Mother? Or Kasan. As I've heard so many times before. Yes, that's right. Mother. I bet you guys are just wondering away what the hell this is gonna do. Well, for starters, this is actually going to be at least 100, possibly even more than 100, but at least 100 years after the death of the last container of the Kyuubi no Kitsu. Yes, I mean, if Kurama is to be a mother, she has to be a woman. Basically, at least 100 years after the death of the last container of the Kyuubi no Kitsu. Nobody in the entire Naruto-verse knows where the hell the Kyuubi no Kitsu is. I mean, like, these, Biju were supposed to reform, usually, they're supposed to reform sometime later, what the hell is happening with the Kyuubi no Kitsu? Kurama. Where the hell is the Kyuubi no freaking Kitsu? Is what everyone's thinking. So yeah, basically, you guys might be wondering how the hell did, freaking Naruto die? Well, it's plain and simple. Just like any good Kage, because he does end up becoming the Hokage, spoiler alert, oops. Just like any good Kage, in the midst of a battle to protect the ones he loves and cares and cherishes. So yes, in the midst of battle. Kind of like the thing with the third Raikage. How long he lasted out. Damn. He didn't even have a tail beast. And that man lasted out for that long. I think it was 10 days before he finally dropped dead. It's shit. And, well, basically, you're wondering what the hell really did happen with the whole Kyuubi no Kitsu thing? Well, it just so happens that around this time, some changes had been occurring. The different, godlike beings of the Naruto-verse, Kami, Yami, and the Shinigami king, they were having their own disputes on whatever the hell to do with the Kyuubi no Kitsu. And that's whenever they finally realized, damn it, that the Kyuubi no Kitsu wasn't even there in the first place. It was just gone. Pew! Pinball. Almost like the only real solution that anybody could really come up with is, well, Shinigami King comes up with something, possibly the Kyuubi no Kitsu, because of its strong attachment to Naruto, and how Naruto was such a selfless, goody two-shoes little soul, that it's looking for the closest thing to that. I mean, Naruto's no longer alive. Boruto wouldn't be alive. Like, Ari's no longer alive. Hinata's no longer alive. Pretty much anyone and everyone that Naruto had ever known was dead. Because it's been at least 100 years since that. Whenever, like, the Shinigami Yami and, frickin' Kami, basically, Shinigami just brings this up. Finally, after 100 years, he finally, gets the idea that maybe, all this time, Kurama just liked being around with Naruto so much, they had such, I guess you could call it a friendship, that Kurama wanted to see if, indeed, they could find another person who would be like that. It just so happens that it seems to be crossing verses in the midst of trying to find the pure soul. And in the verse that it crosses over to, because of all of the different reactions of the different things going on, basically, Kyuubi no Kitsu ends up turning into, all the way from its chakra form to its human form. And Kyuubi no Kitsu will just be like, what, huh? Wait, what? Nani? Nani the fuck? Yeah. So, finally figuring out that, it was just forced into its human form from some sort of chemical reaction of some sort. Whenever it transferred over to wherever the hell this place is. And after a while, Kurama began to sense everything. All that sage chakra and shit. And, all the senjutsu, basically sage chakra shit stuff. Stuff in some things, And the Kyuubi no Kitsu would come to the conclusion, the correct conclusion, that basically it's no longer in its own reality anymore. It's not even in the demonic realm. It is freaking in another freaking reality. Not even in a different planet of the same reality. No, it's in an entirely different reality, in which it's basically, from the looks of things, it seems to be around the year 3000 or so. Yes, Kyuubi is going to be very, very observative in this, like Kurama is. I mean, Kurama's been around for a long time, so you think Kurama would have lots of smarts. technically you can't really destroy, like monsters on chakra, bijus, can't really kill them, so yeah, Kurama's been around for a long time. And so would know a lot of shit. And so would be able to deduce that wherever this reality is, whatever reality it is, it's at least around the year 3000. And, well, basically, Kurama decides to walk around, get familiar with all the different body parts, It's been a while since Kurama's been in its human form. Well, her human form. Because Kibi no Kitsu. Basically, Kurama's wondering, would they know? Honestly, the people wouldn't freaking know everything, but from how much, knowledge could, Kurama trust these people with, what exactly should, Kurama say, and what should not say? There's just so many different things running around, Kurama's head, and Kurama's find a way to get the frickin' shit off my head, mind, whatever. Yes, so as you could kind of imagine, Kurama's kind of very, very, very flustered at this moment. And, well, Kurama decides to locate a nearby hot spring to, ease the mental faculties. Basically, on the way there out to what seems to be the entrance to the city, she sees what looks to be a very, in a moment of mourning, man. And by mourning, I don't mean, the day mourning as in, mourning over a loved one. Mourning as in, over a loved one. Basically, from observing, everything. And also being able to basically see that the spot where she came out from is very close to a cemetery. And one of the gravestones, one that this guy seems to there's a path, even these beings in this reality have chakra, they just don't use it. And they don't know that they have it. Even beings in this reality have chakra. They just don't know that they have it, and they don't use it. And even if they did know that they had it, they probably wouldn't use it because quirks are a thing. And, well, basically, from recognizing a chakra path that leads from where the guy is now, all the way, tracing it backwards to where he possibly could have been, Kurama finds a gravestone that reads, Inko Midoriya. And there's even something on the epitaph about how she died, or what she died from. Basically, apparently this person and the other person attempted to have a child, but didn't work out so well for either Inko or the child. They both ended up dead. And Kurama is just now feeling really bad. And so tries to go over and comfort this person. Basically, I'm gonna try to do it. Oh, please, God help me. Sir? I just noticed you just came out of a cemetery. And, Asashi would, look up and see probably one of the most beautiful women he's ever seen in his damn life. Even more beautiful, he admits, even more beautiful than Inko. And, that kind of makes him feel bad for saying, like, thinking thoughts like that. But he has to admit, he feels it deep within his bones. She's even more beautiful looking than Inko. She is just straight beauty. And, just from the expression and, all the inflections on, like, Isashi's pretty much everything. Pretty much the two of each other can, like, tell what the other is thinking. Like, basically. Kurama's like, is he checking me out? And Sashi's like, oh shit, she knows I'm checking her out. And, Kurama is just like, and Sashi would be like, what are you laughing about? And Kurama would be like, oh, nothing, it's just funny how, well, I don't even know anything about anything, really. I just one day popped here. Almost like some sort of magic spell. I was just trying to find a familiar energy. A source. And I just ended up here. Almost like before I could even blink. I was just transported here. And Sashi's like, well, you just now realize I'm not all that pure and good. I mean, if I'm thinking those things. And Kurama's like, oh, don't be ashamed of it. It more or less, it just helps with the grieving process. I'm sure whoever this Inko Midoriya person was, she was probably a really good, nice person. And, Hisashi would be like, she was. And, more and more, like, Hisashi and Kurama would start to actually talk to each other and realize they haven't even really mentioned their names to each other. Basically, Hisashi would be the first one to, like, spill. He'd be like, I'm Hisashi Midoriya. And Kurama would be a little bit more hesitant, but because of, the awful truths of how humanity acts to, reacts to certain things. If anything, if, the world, the reality that she comes from is any example, it probably won't be all that great. But, Kurama just like, you just gotta suck it up and, spew it. Say it. Spit it. Spit it out. All that shit. I'll just be like, I'm Kyubi no Kitsu. But my real, true name is Kurama. And, Hisashi would be like something about a nine-tailed fox demon? And, Kurama's just preparing for the worst. But Hisashi is like, how can you be a demon if you look so beautiful? Well, would that make you a succubi or something? And, like a succubus or something, and Kurama would just get flustered and be like, suck, and Masashi would be like, from that look on your face, I can kind of tell that's not the case. And, well, you don't seem to be acting all that demon-like. That is, unless you're pulling some sort of deception, which that doesn't seem like that's either. You don't seem like the kind of type that would pull, like, deception on someone just because. You seem like you would only do something if you had a reason to do it. So, I really don't see why you're given the name Kyubi no Kitsu. And Kurama would be like, technically I have more than one name. While it is true that Kyubi no Kitsu is the name given to me, my true name, I guess you could indeed say, is Kurama. And, Sasha would be like, and that's more like it. See? Now, all there is left is to wonder why you were given two names, and that one of them is so darn harsh on you, even though you're so darn beautiful. Did I say that out loud? And, like, Kurama would be like, you think I'm beautiful? Well, that's a first. Especially with my teeth and my claws instead of nails. Like, my teeth are actually kind of fang-like, not like teeth. And, Hisashi would be like, well, that's fine. People with quirks have things like that, too. It's called the transformation quirk. You must have one of those. Either that, or there is truly something more to this story. That's whenever Kurama would just come out, with the full meat and potatoes. And basically unravel like everything to Hisashi. And he would just be like, you did all that with this boy, and yet you're still revered as a monster? And the others as well. The other 8. What about them? If you're revered like that, then I'd hate to know what the others are revered like. I feel so bad. How could people treat you like that after, alongside that boy, saving so many lives? And even though that there will always be conflict, finally being able to make it to where, regardless of conflict, there would be no more war. How can they still hate you? I don't understand. And Kurama would just be like, it's not your place to worry about it. And so she's like, bull crap. Basically, Kurama would be like, what do you mean? And Sasha would be like, you really must not know much at all. You truly have just now gotten here. Allow me to help you integrate into a society that really will appreciate you for who you are. I'm sure of it. Well, at least if that's, any of them have any brain cells, they will. But I guess, it may or may not be true that, they say, that beauty is merely in the eye of the beholder. And what I'm beholding right now is a truly beautiful woman. And, Kurama would be like, oh, you're only saying that. And Hisashi would be like, I'll bet you in a few, moments that you won't be acting like that anymore. And Kurama would just be blushing and like, and this Hisashi guy is such a flirterer. Maybe, just maybe. Hey, you still haven't really shown me where your house is, and it's getting dark. And Hisashi would be like, oh, what's the matter? Is a little foxy woxy afraid of the whoa! Just to get a punch in the face. Like, and that would be only from like one of the chakra hands and be like, I'm not afraid of the dark. Oh, really? You stay out here for a lot longer then. Actually, I think it would be good if we were to go to your place. And Hisashi is like, I knew it. And Kurama would just be pouty, like, darn it, he better be glad he's so darn cute. And, it would just be like, Kurama would look at the house and be like, whoa, your place is huge compared to Naruto's apartment. And Hisashi would be like, really? He never got to live in his clan compound? And Kurama would be like, that's what I told you. This place really could be the size of the clan compound itself. Maybe not the bigger, more important clans, especially, the Uchiha, being that they were once the least police force, but definitely could at least be, like, a medium-sized clan compound's worth. Yeah. I'm not even fully done exploring the place. And, Hisashi would be just observing Kurama move around at the speed of freaking light. Like, beep, 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 beep. Like freaking Roadrunner, like, meep, meep. And, he'd just be like, he'd finally be happy again. And not really long afterwards, Kurama and Hisashi themselves would indeed get some friends. Someone who did indeed know Enko ever since their childhood. That being Mitsuki Bakugo. And Masaru Bakugo being Mitsuki's, husband. That's whenever something would cross Kurama's mind. And before Hisashi even had time to, blink, she would bring up the question. But, not loud enough for everyone else in the room to hear. Something that, they could talk about later, but, just a thing for you to think on as of now. Bring up, why haven't we gotten married? I've known you for a while. And, well, when everyone was indeed gone from the little, welcoming party, basically welcoming Kyuubi into society. And by that, I basically mean, letting Kurama know that she isn't hated. Mitsuki likes her, Masaru likes her, And, you know, she especially knows Hisashi likes her. Regardless of how much of a flirter he likes to be at times. So yeah, you can kind of tell she knows she's liked. At least here she's liked. And even though it's only a few people, it's enough for Kurama for now. It's you know, enough to be liked by at least some people. And not, you know, eternally hated by, like, most of the populace of everywhere. You know, Hagurama would have wanted better for the Biju. And so, Hagurama, indeed looking in on this little surprise, would indeed be smiling down on Kurama in her human form. You know, humming a little tune, because, you know, as soon as everybody got settled down, there would indeed be a talk. While, you know, they were eating dinner, they would indeed be having a talk about the whole marriage thing. And, you know, Hisashi actually having the, you know, time and care and everything involved to, you know, actually truly ask Kurama if, you know, you wanted to be committed to this. Because after what happened with Inko, and that's whenever Kurama would just interject completely by flaring up chakra, and not just any chakra, her chakra, and being like, it won't be like Inko, I can promise you that. And Hisashi would be like, well, is that because since you're a Biju, you can't technically die? Well, then what happens with me? I'll die, and then you'll be sad. I don't want that for either of us. I want us to live happy lives together. But, what if something happens, and Kurama will just be like, you're thinking about the whole child thing again. Listen, I'll think about the whole thing about a child, but first, really, besides, you're supposed to get married before you have children anyways, at least that's what I know. And that would form a little bit of a smile on Hisashi's face. Not only is she cute, but she is a good as hell, like, cheerer-upper. She could tell that she was cheering Hisashi up with her charm. Basically, yeah, they would actually end up getting married, and Masaru would actually volunteer to be Hisashi's best man. And, well, I really freaking don't know the name of the person who, like, goes along with all the vows and the big speech, whole thing before, you know, kiss the bride and all that shit. I really don't know the name. I'm just saying someone's gonna be that, and that's going to be Mitsuki. Mitsuki decided she was going to take up that job. And, you know, Masaru decided he was going to be, you know, Hisashi's best man, since he didn't have one yet. And, well, even though it was a small wedding, I mean, really didn't need much in order to have them be happy. I mean, just being around each other made them happy. So, yeah. Kurama and Hisashi would have gotten married and would indeed kiss the bride. And if you guys wondering about what they'd be wearing to their wedding, well, it's sort of like a commemoration, because I know you guys are going to be hating on me for having Inko out of this story. So I'm just gonna go up and say, Hisashi's tux is going to actually be a dark green with a dark green tie. And a white inside to the suit in general, with white buttons. Actually, no, I'm gonna have the buttons be black. So yeah. And on the whole deal with, Kurama, well, Kurama wants to stick with, the tradition and shit. But in unconventional means, considering what year they're in, she goes full kimono, like dress-wise. A literal orange kimono with like several accents of like orange red, like reddish orange. So basically a lot of orange, and certain parts of the kimono would indeed be like a reddish orange. So yeah, there'd be a lot of that there. Yeah. And well, indeed, after they got married, they would actually settle down for a while. Before they would actually have kids. And this would actually make it to where they would have kids at the same time that Mitsuki and Masaru were having kids. So yeah, Izuku and Bakugo are still the same age because of the fact that they took the time to settle down before everything. And it was actually a good time, a good time to just unwind and, feel free in the world. Just with the person you love. Hisashi was happy, and Kurama was happy. And, well, eventually, fate would smile upon them, as Hisashi would get the news from Kurama herself that she was pregnant. And that from all the chakra sensing that, she's able to do, she can indeed sense that is going to be a little boy. A little baby boy. And, well, soon enough, it would come time. Don't exactly act like Kurama and Hisashi weren't worried at all about actually being able to raise a child. And, basically, something Kurama would actually be worried about is not really what his quirk would be, but, well, yes, that, but if he was quirkless. Because Kurama's not freaking blind. She knows how quirkless people are treated. Like, literally, like, subhuman. Like, trash. Like, subhuman garbage. Like, a waste of space. Like a, basically, damnation to the world. And she does not want her, freaking child to go through that. That is, if she can help it. And then there's always the subject of, even if they did have a quirk, what the quirk would freaking be. And that's all because of Kurama's worries, because of the whole, freaking prejudicial shit with, the old nine-tailed fox thing, oh, it's the demon, oh, it's the monster, it's the beast, blah, 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 blah. All that shit. But that's when Hisashi would remind her she is no longer in Fire Country. She is no longer in the Hidden Leaf. Hell, she's no longer in Fire Country. Hell, she's no longer even in that freaking reality. She is here with him, and they are going to be fine. And when their baby boy is born, they are going to be even more fine. They're going to be freaking amazing. And their kid's going to be freaking amazing too. And, Kurama would just be like, oh, Sashi, you're just such a freaking flirterer. And basically, something that would indeed be a little bit cray-cray. Because the doctor, come the actual date of Izuku's 4th birthday, yes, they still name me Izuku, because, Kurama's not dumb. She does indeed listen to, Hisashi sometimes, and, that one time he did indeed mention that if they had a child, and indeed they were going to have a child, that child would be named Izuku. Izuku Midoriya, because, his last name is Midoriya. And, Kurama being like, well, yeah, that's good and all, but, kind of wouldn't really mention the rest. But Hisashi would be able to get the hint. And, would indeed step up where Kurama did not. And basically be like, oh, so... And, he'd basically also trail off. Keeping, basically wanting to make it a surprise. Keeping the surprise to himself until it was time to unveil it to his wife. Basically, there on his birth certificate, Izuku Kyubi no Kitsu Midoriya. Yes, not Kurama, but Kyubi no Kitsu, because technically Kurama is the first name, so... Instead, it would use the other name, basically Hisashi would use the other name that, basically, she told him, she was given as the middle name. So, basically, Izuku Kyubi no Kitsu Midoriya. Only instead of Kitsu, he would have changed it, seeing as Kurama already said, knew it was going to be a boy. Instead of Kitsu, it would be Yoko. So yes, Izuku Kyubi no Yoko Midoriya. And well, indeed, there wouldn't be another big surprise whenever Izuku, come the age of freaking 5, jumps on their beds, basically on top of them, and is like, Mommy, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy. And Kurama being like, oh my god, Kami, save me! And basically, Hisashi being like, Izuku, what the hell is going on? What are you doing? Like this man wouldn't even be half freaking awake. And, well, Kurama would actually, perk up, raise a little eye up and be like, Izuku, is this about the Quirk Doctor again? We told you we will. And Izuku's like, no, that's it. It is the day. And that's whenever, damn straight, they would actually both look at the calendar, and indeed, this would be the day of Izuku's 5th birthday. And so, in short, with a little smirk that appears on, Kurama's face, Hisashi would be speculative of something. And that's whenever, literally, Kurama would body flicker out of the scene, and Izuku would be like, "Aw, Mom still didn't teach me how to do that." And she didn't even teach me about that blue stuff that sometimes flows around her body and sometimes turns orange. Why does she always keep so many secrets? And basically, Sasha would be like, oh, never mind, Izuku, we'll be fine. And that's whenever walking into the kitchen, it would be like, happy birthday, Izuku, honey! And there would literally be freaking birthday pancakes. Like freaking, M&M's in the batter. Like, freaking birthday cake color pancakes. And Izuku would just be like, he'd be freaking out. Izuku being like, Mommy, you're the greatest, Daddy, you're the greatest. Like, he would just be so damn happy. And then finally, it would become the crucial moment. The moment where, well, basically, it would be the visions of the Quirk Doctor. And, well, once Kurama and, well, Hisashi were brought into the room, the doctor would have a solemn expression on his face, saying basically that, diagnosing Izuku quirkless. And Kurama's like, no, that can't be right. And Hisashi would, all Hisashi be able to do was, comfort her while she cried a heavy amount of anime tears into his freaking, shirt. And Izuku would be like, quirkless? And that would be the only thing getting Kurama out of her own little, yuck. Basically, she would just grab Izuku and hold him tight and be like, don't worry, quirkless or not, Mommy will always be here to support you, and so will your father. However, the powers above had different plans for Izuku. Sure, he may have been diagnosed quirkless. That is until a certain series of events ended up happening. Basically, it was the school day that ended up happening to Izuku. Bakugo, figuring out that Izuku was quirkless, quickly turned on Izuku, and, decided he was going to be his bully from now on. And, well, just decided to be an overall douchebag. Douchebag Express. All aboard the Douchebag Express. Live up like a douche in the woman in the night. Blah, blinded by a light, breath up like a douche in the roller in the night. Anyways, basically, Bakugo being an asshole completely. And Izuku thought the entirety of the day was just going to get, like, him being, thrashed on, but then some kid basically, out of the goodness of their own heart, decided that Izuku really didn't deserve this. And for that, Bakugo was like, oh, so now you're a quirkless lover. And he just decided to bully that kid. And Izuku would just be thinking, what the hell, man? And basically, Izuku would get in the middle of Bakugo and this kid. Like, he would have shot up to his feet with an amazing burst of stamina and blue and, red around him. Which you wouldn't even notice the blue and the red, cascading around him, going all through him as he was speeding off to get in front of Bakugo. Finally, once he had stopped, it would just be a blast out that surrounded the entire area. Bakugo seeing this would be like, so you got some stupid firework quirk? So you were lying to me just because you knew your quirk was... just because you knew your quirk was stupid and weak? Deku. And, Izuku would have been like, the fight is with me, Katsuki. Not with this poor, defenseless little girl. And with that last little bark of, anything, the two swirling energies, the blue one and the red one, the just spin around so fast and shoot out through Izuku's mouth boom. Basically the equivalent of a Bijudama, but child sized. And Bakugo would just be like, okay, that was unexpected. You can weaponize that shit. If you're not as worthless after all, you can make it for a good punching bag. That's whenever it would just end up being so much worse. As the red and the blue would end up swirling around each other again. And this time Bakugo would anticipate the attack. But what he wouldn't anticipate is, through the smoke, come a soaring Izuku, basically having actually made 3 Bijudamas in his mouth, shooting off one, and then shooting 2 into his hands, having them clasped, and then just shooting them out like Rasengans, like a Rasengan barrage at Bakugo, landing him into a freaking brick wall, so hard that it broke open into the drywall, and even damaged that. So much that it burned it mostly away. And all the way to whatever else composed up that wall. Yeah. Just burned straight through. Right after knocking Bakugo off his freaking ass. So yeah, Bakugo, after that day, he kinda didn't really learn his lesson, but he did indeed learn at least to, if he told him to not bully someone, basically just to not bully them, basically, if he told him not bully someone, his fight would officially be with Izuku now. You know? And his fight would have pretty much changed from whoever he was bullying to Izuku. But he would still lose. Yeah, each and every single time. This red and blue energy. And finally, it would get so bad that they would both get called into the principal's office, you know, at the sight of basically a freaking one-tailed cloak appearing all throughout Izuku's freaking body. Right, at the side whenever, Bakugo just decided it to be the ultimate asshole. And, well, basically, Bakugo just decided to, freaking blast a part of the ceiling, basically injuring multiple kids that, were kind of whispering, who was the strongest in the school, like a little whisper argument because they didn't want to be heard. But Bakugo ended up hearing them anyway, so he just blasted at the ceiling, causing, several bricks to fall on their heads and knock them unconscious. And at this point, Izuku just plain at it. He got pissed. And just went straight into the first tail cloak. Yes, the first tail. And not only that, but, yeah, he's fast now. So fast that, Bakugo would see the punch coming, but, it was to Bakugo, it was like this. But in real reality, it was like this. Yeah. Major difference. And that was happening several times over, right until, they were finally broken up. But the principal would even, make a mental note that they were even burned by Izuku's massive amount of whatever the hell energy he's exuding. Using whatever the hell kind of quirk he has. Which, surprisingly to the teacher, Izuku's kept this little thing a secret from his parents. And so whenever basically both Mr. and Mrs. Midoriya come into the principal's office, wanting to know what the hell is going on, and also Mitsuki and Masaru would be there as well. Basically, Bakugo would make sure to be a loudmouth and, have his side of the story heard first. Thinking that since he has a quirk, and, Deku was faking being quirkless, that his side would be favored more over, Izuku's. Basically lying, saying that he was attacked unprovoked. And that's just whenever, everyone in the room would begin to feel the spike of overall rage emanating from, basically, from Izuku's mother. Mitsuki and Masaru would even have to admit they never even felt this before. And, well, wow. Sashi's not a complete and total stranger to this. He has admitted it's been getting worse as he's been basically telling his family that he has to prepare for whenever he has to go out to seas, to America, do his overseas job that he's, been considering doing because of, the financial status of the family. And he's been noticed ever since he said that. It's only been getting worse, the killing intent coming from his wife. It's only been getting worse. Not any better. She's only been getting more and more angry anytime anything like this happens. Especially whenever she damn sure as well knows that something like this, what she senses off of Izuku, what she senses off of her baby boy ever since he was even freaking conceived, was the light she was trying to find whenever she was, just a mere energy source skyrocketing through reality. The different realities. This is the light source, so he couldn't have been the one to do it. And unprovoked? How dare you? And basically, a lot of the killing intent and bloodlust and uber rage would just be mostly focused on the gift horse in the mouth, Bakugo himself. The principal would just be like, he's gonna be tugging at his collar, being like, anything you want to say on that? And he's gonna be like, I would actually like to get my side of the story out first. Bakugo actually attacked people first. I tried to do something, and now Bakugo is blaming me, saying I attacked him unprovoked. And then the principal would indeed be like, well, you did indeed, use that demon power. And this would only make Kurama's anger even worse. Hearing the word demon be used whenever, describing her beautiful baby boy. Like her and Sashi's little pride and joy. I mean, you have to rhyme. But literally, again with the demon shit. Like, what the hell is wrong with these people? They're just like the villagers. No, they're actually worse. Possibly, if that's even possible, for them to be even worse than the villagers. And then the principal would kind of show the burn mark on their arm, and they would actually say that, well, does this look like a mark from an explosion to you? Just like I said, demon. And, well, Izuku would just be like, Mom, Dad, I need a minute. And, well, the principal would about to object against this. And that's until the killing, instinct would raise even more to the point where things were starting to crack into multiple pieces. Even the windows would break. And the freaking floor would be shaking like an earthquake. Like, everything would be moving around, like, going crazy. Like, with scrambled eggs. And basically, whenever Izuku was finally out of the room, he would have just felt like a massive pain in his back. And that's whenever he would realize that Bakugo would have actually taken the, whole opportunity of, like, everybody being distracted by his mom's, like, massive killing intent to actually sneak up on Izuku from behind and attack him. And beat him up while he's down. And, everyone would actually end up finding out that both Bakugo and Izuku were not there. And whenever they would go over to find out what the hell was going on, Let's see basically Bakugo kicking the shit out of Izuku. And Izuku would just be like, you know, you know, Izuku wouldn't do anything because he was afraid that if he did, he'd just be called Demon again. And how much that tore up his mother inside, pretty much, from what he could tell, it was hurting her greatly, having her son being called a demon. Like, it must be something like on a personal level if it's affecting her like this. Like, more than just a maternal instincts, like, also on a personal level, like, some sort of grudge against the world. For nicknames like Demon. So, Izuku didn't do anything. He didn't flare up his power. He didn't do anything. And Kurama would just be like, why? Why aren't you doing anything? And that basically, from everything I've heard, from everything she's heard, he can defend himself. And has done so in the past, so why is he not doing anything? That's whenever Kurama realizes he's not doing anything, because if he does, then, he'll be called Demon again, and he knows how that affects his mother. And basically, just like a chankra message from her head to his head, which kind of send Izuku a little chakra message, somehow like from some sort of link, from like a link, basically telling him that it doesn't matter what happens to her. Defend yourself. I don't want you to die. Basically, whenever Izuku hears this, like, that his mother doesn't want him to die, so that regardless of what will happen to her, regardless of what will happen, just to defend himself. And, Izuku takes the only feasible route for him. As of this moment, like, whatever, the only thing that he can really think that he can actually do, as of this time, and basically, well, considering, all the shit that was going on during the Fourth Shinobi World War, basically, there's actually several, like, attributes of that fight that actually has kind of poured into Kurama's DNA. And from this, Izuku actually sort of gains something. Gains. Well, let's just say, whenever Bakugo tries to punch Izuku with an explosion, finally, after just beating him up with normal objects for a good while, Bakugo realizes what he punched with an explosion is now crackling up like wood after being in a bonfire for a while. And then Kurama would just be like, what style? And basically, just shun behind Bakugo, Izuku would, and be like, I've had enough of your shit, Katsuki. To last several lifetimes. Just grab Bakugo by the arm and basically kick him back. And, Bakugo would stand back up, only to hear the words, "Universal Pull! Basso Tenni!" Like, and Bakugo would just be sent towards Izuku, and would just hear from his mother, "Wait! Wait! Wait!" And then Bakugo would just try to blast him. That's whenever out from the explosion will come a one-tail cloak, Izuku, and basically using the cloak to shield himself. And seeing as no one else can see in the smoke, basically no one would have been able to see him cloak himself. And basically what happens after that is, well, basically Izuku would just look at Bakugo and be like, Shinra Tensei, Almighty Push! Boom! And you would just get knocked into a wall. Like 3 walls. And then you would just hear, Universal Pull! Basso Tenni! And you just come back to him. And Izuku would just slam him down. And Bakugo would be like, like, he would just be broken. A broken man. And, basically, just be like, be like, wood style, wood entanglement. And it's like, and basically be all around Bakugo. And Bakugo would be like, what the hell is this? And, basically, everybody would walk up and be like, what's going on? And basically, Izuku would be like, I'm about to do something, but I have an idea that it might not work how it usually works. Or at least, if I can help it, Basically, Izuku's about to use a version of the human path that, unlike how the human path usually works, won't actually kill Bakugo. However, he is able to extract soul, like Bakugo's soul out halfway, only because he wants the teacher to put his hand on the halfway extracted soul of Bakugo. And seeing as Bakugo's physical form is already restricted, he can't do jack shit. Basically, Izuku tells him that basically it will reveal the truth of everything that happened before and happened now and before even that and all sorts of shit. And basically, the principal, scared out of his mind, does so, seeing everything, knowing the truth about everything. So basically, the principal just bows to not just Izuku, but also to his mother and his father profusely, and apologizes profusely. Like, he's on his knees, begging for forgiveness for saying such things about their child. And basically, Izuku puts the soul of Bakugo back inside of him, and basically just prepares a chakra-controlled kick, releases the wood style jutsu like 100%, and then just kicks him back into the ground. That chakra-controlled kick. Basically, Bakugo's like, this proves nothing. And Izuku would just be like, except for the fact that I'm superior to you. I mean, how the hell do you even think I have all these other powers? You know, besides the wood style, I mean, wood style's pretty obvious. All the way with the first Hokage's relationship with the Nine Tails. You know, kind of pulled from that. Not really sure how I was able to pull from that and get wood style, but I did. And I'm not exactly having it taken away from me anytime soon. So don't even dare get any funny ideas. And also, the same thing can be said with my new and improved version of all of the different Rinnegan powers. For example, usually whenever the human path is used, basically what I use to extract your soul, it kills a person. Yet you are not dead. Yet. Basically, he'd be like, yet. You are not dead. Yet. And, you know, basically, Izuku would go over something else. One of the several ways someone can actually get the Rinnegan, which is what's needed to use the human path's power, is basically combining wood style with that of the Mangekyo Sharingan. And my Mangekyo Sharingan, as you can see, yeah, he would literally reveal his eyes, like, as basically. Basically, he would have the design of Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan within, like, Pain/Nagato's Rinnegan eyes. Is how he's able to pull all of the, shit off. Basically, instead of how Sasuke has it where all the Tomoes are spiraling around the eye, basically it would be the look of Itachi's Sharingan design inside of, like, Pain's Rinnegan eye, Nagato's Rinnegan eye, basically. That's basically what it would be. So yeah, the Mangekyo powers would still be there, and so would the powers of the Rinnegan. So both Mangekyo powers and Rinnegan powers. Yay! Clap for Izuku. Plus he has the Nine Tails and wood style. So yeah, holy shit. And that's whenever Izuku reminds himself he hasn't used any Mangekyo powers. He's like, I gotta rectify that. Hold on a second, Teach. He would just pull up, like, the back of Bakugo's shirt and basically use wood style to create a stake and basically pin Bakugo to the wall. And, even use some more wood style to basically cause it to come out of the freaking walls and basically keep Bakugo from using any explosions by restraining his body to the wall. And basically he'd be like, look into my eyes, Bakugo. And, Bakugo would kind of not even be able to blink or shut his eyes. That is before he would realize the purple color would then turn a red color, as he would hear the words, Tsukuyomi, 72 hours of torture. Or at least that's what it would be, if it was just Itachi Sharingan. But instead of 72 hours of torture, he would just say, Tsukuyomi World. Genjutsu. Yes, that's basically what he would say. Tsukuyomi World Genjutsu. He's not being specific with like the 72 hours stuff. So he would just say Tsukuyomi World Genjutsu. And basically, Bakugo would just appear in some sort of Tsukuyomi world. Or basically, he would have to relive what he would have to relive. Oh. He would have to reveal his true worst nightmares taking physical form inside the Tsukuyomi world, and he would have to battle them without the pretense that they're his, manifestations of his, fears of his past nightmares. Without the pretense of knowing that. So, to him, they're truly terrifying monsters of God knows what type of origin. Technically, Izuku knows, because he's the one making the genjutsu. So basically, Izuku's using the Tsukuyomi world to attack Bakugo with his own worst nightmares and worst fears. And from what Izuku could see, Bakugo's a freaking wimp. Yeah, these fears are pretty easy to, pop up. And, Bakugo kind of caves very easily under these fears. It never came across his mind once, what the actual purpose of these different things were. What they were all about. It never came across him once anything to do with, possible past experience. That these were all, his past nightmares come into physical form inside the Tsukuyomi world. The Tsukuyomi world of Genjutsu. And basically, Izuku would actually have admitted that he set a timer, and that basically, 5 minutes is up, and Bakugo would be like, 5 minutes? It's been 5 minutes? It feels a hell of a lot longer than that. Wait, where did all the other things go? Where is everything? Why is everything black? And Izuku would just be like, well, Bakugo, well, it seems like it's a lot longer than 5 minutes for you. Technically, Bakugo, how long do you think it has been? And Bakugo would just be like, it seems like it's been 3.5 days. And Izuku would be like, 3.5 days, really? You perceived 5 minutes as 3.5 days inside my Genjutsu world. That's Tsukuyomi. Perhaps for you, you just made my job a whole lot easier. Now, be gone, thought. And he would just get him out of the Genjutsu, and Bakugo would faint. Basically, he would just not be able to stay conscious any longer. But hey, technically it's a good thing that day was the last day of school. That day in which, Bakugo basically learned a very hard lesson. A very painful one as well. Don't with Izuku Midoriya. Don't, actually needs to be stated again. Don't, fuck with Izuku Kyuubi no Kitsu Midoriya. Because he will break your shit. Well, basically, while everything was going down, you know, everybody would just go through the tunnel together as like a last moment as a family before, like, in the morning, Sashi would have to, finally be sent off to his job overseas. So as a last little family thing for them to do, they would all go through the tunnel. Yet, Izuku would separate them by, revving up chakra for something. Like, Kurama doesn't know what, at first. It's all kind of confusing what's just happened in the past few minutes. And that's until she would hear, basically like, Katen Gyoko freaking no jutsu. I'm like, basically, fire style, fireball no jutsu. Basically, fireball. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Yeah, with the Rinnegan, he basically has a natural affinity for all 5 nature releases. Like chakra releases. Chakra natures. So yeah, fireball jutsu would come pretty easy. So yeah. The sludge villain that was just about to attack everyone. Izuku would indeed have his parents break from him so that he could pretty much burn the sludge villain at crisp. And then, they could walk the rest of the way of the tunnel. And, right about the time that they get home, All Might finally gets through the entire whole manhole cover to discover a scorched sludge villain. And be like, I am here? Like, what? Nani? So, yeah. But one last thing before we do indeed end off the part. Considering everything, Kurama did get some strings pulled with the help of the principal. And, seeing all the different shit that Izuku could do. Basically, in order to completely make up for all of the assholery that, was pulled. The principal actually got the principal of UA to notice Izuku, from all these abilities that would have been told to Nezu through the freaking message. And basically, it would have been the equivalent of a recommendation. Principal to principal. Basically, with all of this, evidence of Izuku's mad lad, chad lad skills and abilities that he can do already. And, well, indeed it would come through. And, well, basically, Kurama, right before everybody, hit the hay, would indeed inform, all of them about how, basically, she was able to get her little baby boy into recommendations. Into UA through recommendations. Yeah. And even got, a reevaluation of the quirk done through UA staff, whatever was going on, with the other doctor, they apparently can't see what's right in front of them. Because if all these notes are correct, you know, basically Nesu would be talking to everybody and be like, if all these notes are correct, this kid is far from quirkless. Like, he has some sort of power. If not quirk, then I don't know what the hell. Like, Jesus. Yeah. Not only does Izuku get through, through recommendations. I really don't know what else to say. Basically, yeah, I think I lost my train of thought, which means it's time to stop. Anyways, Alan, see, and Dust is the Dark Train Maverick, so you out of here. The boys, like, favorite, subscribe, click the little bells in the comment section. Bounce the conclusion while blue sweat shoes. Yeah, and all that. And misdirection.